Hey everyone, in this episode, we are discussing 5 steps that you can take to get your loved one the help that they need. Now, this is a PDF downloadable one sheet that we put together. You can find it at realrecoverytalk.com/guide. Again, it's realrecoverytalk.com/guide. Download it, print it out, put it somewhere that you're going to be able to see it. Maybe hang it on your mirror, hang it on your refrigerator. It's 5 things that you can do to ensure that you're getting your loved one the help that they need when it comes to their drug addiction or their alcoholism. So again, realrecoverytalk.com/guide to download this PDF. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Destiny.
What's up, guys?
And we also have Dr. T. What up?
What up, guys?
First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use, and thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com, and ultimately we want to help you turn your mess into your message, right, ladies?
Yeah.
Right.
Real quick, you could also go to realrecoverytalk.com/guide yeah, it's / I think so. Guide. And that will give you 5 steps to have a, what is it, Tambini? 5 steps in getting your loved one the help that they need.
Right.
Yeah. So basically a 1-pager. It's a PDF download. It's 5 steps that you could take to get your loved one the help that they need. And it's simple. It's 1 page. We just have 5 pointers on there, and it'd be good for you to have. So make sure you go there, realrecoverytalk.com/guide. And yeah. So what's up, D-Dog?
I was really just thinking about the guide for getting your loved ones help. My family would have absolutely benefited from that back in the day because they had no idea what to do with me at all. So that's actually really cool that we do that. I had no idea.
Perfect. Well, we got today's topic for today. First off, are you comfortable? You don't look like you're very comfortable. Like
yeah,
with the microphone,
loosen
it's
up.
like,
I don't know.
Like the microphones.
You set it up. I don't know. Are we good now?
That's
Is this
fine.
good?
As long as you're comfortable.
Shoulders loose. Everything's fine. Yeah, we're good.
You're good?
It's your energy you gave her earlier.
I told you I'm fit.
Feed off of my energy.
I'm trying. I'm looking at you. I'm trying. I see you. You're great. We all know that I love you. Your energy earlier, if nobody knew, Tom is a nail biter. When he overthinks, he's been biting his nails for the past 30 minutes. So I was feeding off your energy. I do that. I feed off of people's energy, which sometimes is a plus. But in this situation particularly, it didn't help me because now we're on video and I'm trying to let go of it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you for that.
And then you just asked me in front of however many people are watching this if I was comfortable, and I was fine until you said something.
I think
here.
I think thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And just so everyone knows, people think sometimes that we are the same person. So
I'll take it all day. I will take that. Thank you.
We coexist, everyone.
Yeah, I'll take it. You can continue thinking that. I'm fine with it. She's great. So
are you. And I love you.
Stop it. I'm blushing on camera. I love that.
Can we get into our topic now?
Of
Are you guys done?
Yeah, you started it.
All right. So the 5 steps that, let me actually, where's my phone at? Hang on. Destiny, you said that your family would have been benefited greatly from having something like this. Why? Elaborate on that a little bit.
So, I mean, they just had no idea what to do with me. One, they knew something was going on. I thought I was hiding my addiction super well, obviously nodding out in front of them and just nights of not coming home and the changes and stuff. Like, they knew, but I mean, outside of that, resources, information, anything like that, they had absolutely no idea.
Interesting. And was it through, like, is it safe to say that they're educated now?
100%.
How are they?
Just by asking me questions, my journey in recovery, they ask so many questions now, and me calling them and talking to them.
Yeah. One of the biggest hurdles that we run into when speaking to families and loved ones is this exact thing. They're uneducated. They don't know the questions asked. They don't know they don't really know anything about it. Oftentimes it's, why can't Destiny just stop using? Mm-hmm. Did they ever ask you that?
Gosh, that was so long ago. I'm sure at some point or another, or just what is going on with you,
Yeah. So this one page, and we're going to go over each one of them, but what's good about it is you could print it, just get it, print it, put it on your refrigerator, wherever you want to put it. And this is a very blanket one page that you could refer to. But the very first one is, in fact, educate yourself. And it reads, learn about addiction, its causes, and available treatments. Understanding the nature of addiction can help you approach your loved one with empathy and provide better support. And it's very hard to have family members buy into this because oftentimes, again, they think that, well, it's not my problem. So why do I need to educate myself on this when, in fact, it's not my problem? T, what do you got?
I agree. Or it being more accusatory and saying, like, why can't you just stop what you're doing? I don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. And then, people don't, when we say educate yourself, with what we have today at our fingers with the internet, we didn't have all of this data and information 10 years ago, 20 years ago, as well as how far treatment itself has come along. But people can educate themselves on the neurobiology of addiction, just like how it works, how it affects the person that is in addiction, to gain even just a better understanding of the general concept itself, one. But they can also learn about all of the other collateral damage that ensues and why things are happening the way they are to help them better deal with their situation.
Yeah. The education part, I would consider this podcast being educational. There's plenty of other podcasts that talk about addiction and mental health. Google is a good thing. I think one piece of education that oftentimes people miss out on are the community aspect of it, surrounding yourself with other people that have been through this, that can kind of, walk you through the process. That's all going to be considered education. And when you have a better understanding, and even going to like the medical side of it, which, now with Tambini, we're trying to tap into more. There's a lot of things on the medical side that influence addiction that oftentimes people just breeze past. How it affects the brain, the chemical imbalances that happen within the brain, the changes that happen within the brain, the physical, the detox symptoms. Every substance has a lot of times has different detox symptoms. Some are worse than others, those sorts of things. And all that stuff plays into somebody being an addict. And Destiny, when you were in detox, or when you were detoxing, you weren't thinking about stopping. You were thinking about not being sick.
Absolutely. 100%.
So that's number one. Number two is initiate an open conversation. Approach your loved one with care and express your concerns without judgment. Choose a time when they are sober and willing to listen. Encourage them to share their thoughts and feelings about their addiction. This can be very touchy. Oftentimes, families, loved ones, parents, when they enter into a conversation like this, it's very hard for them to enter into the conversation without bringing some sort of emotion in. And when we bring emotion into these types of conversations, oftentimes they go haywire very quickly. And being able to do this, being able to navigate it, I think is extremely important, but it's also something that again, having the conversation makes all the sense in the world, but I would encourage you to have a conversation with somebody that has had this conversation in the past and see how they navigated the conversation. What do you guys got?
I know for me, especially when the conversation is emotionally charged, which a lot of them were, but understanding like my family was hurt, lying, manipulating, just not knowing all the nights of like no sleep because they're worrying about me if I'm even alive at certain points. So it's, I was not going to listen to, it was a lot of blame, but there was, you didn't know any better. There's a lot of hurt of like why you do the things that you do. And I'm absolutely not going to have a conversation if I'm high. You're not going to get through to me. It's going to be a completely pointless situation. So for me, I think it's good to, like you said, have that conversation with somebody who's had the conversation. Because outside of that, you're not going to get anywhere. Again, with my experience and from others, when the conversation is emotionally charged, argument, and nobody can get anywhere. But you sit down with the person, hey, tell us what's going on. It's you might actually like get some answers.
T, when you have conversations with your patients, how do you approach this oftentimes?
That's what I was going to say. I don't have children, but if a parent or a loved one was to ask me the same question, my advice would be, one, obviously not in a situation where they're high or nodding out or on a run or whatever like that. It has to just be in a safe environment for both people involved or parties involved. And it needs to be non-emotionally charged. It's really hard not to go into a conversation, like you said, and point the finger and be accusatory. You have to go in with an open mind and an open heart and just meet them where they're at and just say, I really just want to have a conversation with you about, what's going on, and understand that you are going to hear some things you probably don't want to hear, and it's going to be hurtful. It's going to be emotional, but it can't be judgmental and it can't be one-sided. It has to be open-ended questions and open-minded, and just listen. Have that person understand, look them in the eyes, have your body language, don't be guarded, and just have an open conversation, and it not be you telling them what they need to do, because they don't want to hear that. They're going to do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. Them getting help and them seeking help is going to be on their terms, on their time. So you have to go in with that mindset and understand that you're not going to be there telling them what to do or how to do it. It's just going to be initiating that conversation and letting them know, I love you. I'm here for you. Whatever you might be going through, when you are ready, let's talk about it. I'm just leaving everything open here. Yeah. Is how I would approach it.
I like that you said that, because I can tell you when with the blame and then knowing somebody's mad at me or I hurt somebody, that's when I shut down. Like, okay, I've upset my family. Here's all the blame being pointed at me, regardless of the things I had done. Like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm not ready to, so I shut down and I run. For me, that's what I used to do best, is I run away and I'll ignore it. And I'll continue doing what I'm doing because I can block it out for however long.
Yeah. All right, let's transition to the third one, which is offer support and encouragement. It's kind of a play off of what we were just talking about, but let your loved one know you are there for them and willing to help. Offer to accompany them to therapy sessions, support groups, or treatment centers. Encourage them to seek professional help and reassure them that seeking assistance is a sign of strength and not weakness. again, this plays into what we were just talking about. Don't be accusatory. Don't bring emotion into it. And really figure out and analyze how far you're willing to assist them. Don't make promises that you can't keep. If it is something like, hey, I'll take you to X amount of, meetings a week, well, you better take them to X amount of meetings a week. Or if you're going to transport them, or if you're going to fly with them to, a treatment center or whatever, make sure you actually do that. If you say that's what you're going to do. I encourage parents and loved ones to always have this approach in the very beginning. You don't want to, come out guns a-blazing, I guess. Have a loving, caring approach to it. Encourage them, because oftentimes you'll be surprised at the response that you'll get because they are used to, the negative approach, especially if you guys have discussed this before. And all these discussions have been emotionally charged and stuff like that. And you flip it, and now you're encouraging, you're loving, you're caring, yada, yada, yada. That'll be, maybe, hopefully inspiring to them, stuff like that. You guys have anything on that?
No, just so people understand too. It's not a one-time conversation.
No.
This is going to be a continued, probably multiple instance type thing that you have to change your mindset to, that every time they are ready to talk with you, that this is how it should be. Because in order for you to get through to them, as much as you want to throw blame and shout and be angry, that's just not going to work for it. And also you're not going to get a response that you want either. Every single time. I can guarantee every single conversation is going to have a different outcome. And it's just like a repeated pattern over time that you hope you instill that message to them, that they eventually will hear you or come to you when they are ready.
Yeah.
To have, that final conversation about.
Yeah, I like that consistency and remaining open-minded. Not going into the conversation with any expectations of, what you think should happen or what you want to happen, but just that continuous, affirming them of like, hey, I'm here when you are ready. I'm here to talk when you are ready. This is not forced, but like, I'm here, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth one is, and this is my favorite one, set boundaries. While supporting your loved one, it's essential to establish healthy boundaries to protect yourself and your relationship. Be clear about what boundaries are acceptable and unacceptable, and stick to these boundaries consistently. This may include refusing to enable their addiction or engage in codependent behaviors. This one, parents have the hardest time with.
Yep. Conversations
are easy. Generally, human beings do not shy away from conversation, whether emotionally charged or not. So that's easy. The conversations are always easy to have, generally speaking. The educate yourself, we all have Google. We can do that. Pretty easy. But when it comes to setting boundaries, this is, at least from my experience, what I have the hardest time portraying to families and loved ones.
I agree.
Because there is now there's risk involved. There's not a lot of risk with educating yourself. There's not a lot of risk with having conversations, but setting boundaries, there's risk. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times parents and loved ones don't want to assume risk. They don't want to assume any liabilities, but in actuality, by not setting boundaries, you are in fact assuming a lot more risk and a lot more liabilities. Mm-hmm. I had a conversation with a mom over the past probably 4 days. I talked to her about 45 minutes to an hour every day. And this particular mom was incapable of setting boundaries with her son. And which in turn, what ended up happening, it prolonged the process of him going into treatment longer and longer and longer. And it wasn't until she finally said, I'm not coming to pick you up. He refused to go into a few detox centers, and he would refuse. He would sit out front. Mom would go pick him up. And this happened like 3 days in a row. And she called me, and I just said, look, there's nothing more that I can tell you. You just have to not go and pick him up. He's utilizing your niceness against you and turning it into your weakness, and you don't have any boundaries with him, and he's taking advantage of that. And I know for a fact she's doing this because she's a mom. She's doing this because she doesn't want him to be homeless. She doesn't want him to be in a risky situation. But I told her, I said, you're going to continue to do this, and one day you're going to walk into his bedroom and he's going to be overdosed and dead. And what are you going to do then? And I said, it sucks that I even have to tell you this, but that's the reality of it. And how are you going to feel? I'm not saying that you're responsible for his overdose, you're responsible for his death or anything of the sorts, but how are you going to feel if that situation actually happens? And finally, she told him, I'm not coming to get you. You can figure this out. And miraculously, he ended up in detox. Boundaries are a real thing. Even for parents and loved ones that have children, but like spouses too. Mm-hmm. So good, guys.
Boundaries are probably the most crucial conversation that I have with families or spouses. They're just probably a week ago, I've been working with this family for about a month. Daughter in college, can't stop drinking, and they pay for her car, they pay for school, they pay for everything. And they're like, what do we do? Well, you got to stop. It's not talking about like ultimatums, but you can't keep financially supporting her. Like it's important for us as addicts and alcoholics to hit our bottom. Otherwise, we stay out a lot longer than we need to. And boundaries, and I stress this a lot too. Boundaries, once you put them in place, you have to keep them in place. I can could very easily, very manipulative with my family. So once those boundaries are in place, it also is important to keep them in place.
Yeah, don't put boundaries forth that you're not willing to uphold. Mm-hmm. That's what it boils down to. T, anything on that?
I would say from a medical perspective, on the other side, like in treatment center side of things that I see, is to let family members and loved ones know that those behaviors don't just stop overnight, right? Those behaviors then get transferred to us in terms of the physician, the clinicians, the recovery team involved. And a lot of times we often reach out to family members or loved ones to help hold that line and that boundary with us to maintain, because they will often try to manipulate us, whether it's, trying to get certain medications that they were abusing at home, that we're holding the line. And then we've had certain instances where I'll have a patient and we caught them abusing the medication, pulled it, take it away. They then went and saw another doctor and obtained that same medication. And, we had to sit with the patient, and they don't see what they're doing, how they've lied, manipulated, sought out other resources, how they're breaking our trust. So we have to sit with them and explain to them what they're doing. That's one aspect. The other aspect will be like they try to dictate how their treatment is going to go. Mm-hmm. I can only stay here for 7 days or 14 days because my wife needs me at home because I have a job and I have to go back to work. Well, I know that, yes, you have a wife and you have a family, but we also know from your wife coming in that you have, 60 days of leave that was approved before you came in. So you're trying to split us against your wife. And that's why we, oftentimes pull family members in. So we all hold our boundaries with them. And there's just numerous. It can get exhausting to try to fight for them in their recovery, to want it more than they want it. But I also understand, especially early on, those first 30 days, sometimes we have to do that. And then they come around and they understand what they're doing. And it just takes time.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. The last one is explore treatment options. So I'll read this. Research different treatment options such as therapy, counseling, support groups, or rehabilitation programs. Encourage your loved one to seek professional help and explore which options align with their needs and preferences. Offer to assist them in finding suitable resources and accompany them to appointments if needed. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this one. Treatment options, there's a ton out there. You will do this kind of simultaneously while you're doing all these other things. Because the last thing that you want is to get them to agree to go to treatment and you don't know where they're going to go. Mm-hmm. You can't leave any margin for error. If it's like, hey, Johnny agreed to go and now we have to figure out where he's going to go. Well, that could take a few days or longer. Depending on your research, your resources, what insurance you have available to you, stuff like that. If you have to put money together, yada, yada, yada. In that time frame, Johnny could very quickly change his mind. He could, hey, I know I'm going to treatment in 2 days and goes out with a bang. And, with fentanyl nowadays, there's no time for no margin for error. It only takes once and you are dead. So have this stuff lined up. That way, when they do agree to go, it's as simple as getting them on a flight.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's really not much more to that. Mm-mm. There's a lot of options for treatment, like I said. And one of the things, the last thing I'll say in terms of treatment is utilize, obviously, the internet, but utilize people that have, again, gone through this process. You can always, obviously, reach out to us. We have ties with a lot of different treatment centers, and, we can kind of get an idea as to what the situation is and, point you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's the one thing I love about us is like people that call in, the families and stuff that have no idea what to do. And it's, I know one of the things that we tell the families is like, look, even if they if they can't come here for whatever reason, like we have different resources in the area, like we'll get them set up with everything. So as soon as they say they're ready, okay, great. Detox has got their number. Let's get them on the phone. Let's get them here. And then generally they already have an aftercare plan set up. So like you were saying, there is no room for error. It's A to B and, everything's set up.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, that was fun.
Real fun.
You didn't enjoy that?
Glad to be here. Absolutely. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah. Always glad to be here. It's an honor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. T, anything else?
No, I think we covered.
All right. That is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your message and go to realrecoverytalk.com/guide to download the guide that we just discussed. Print it out, put it on your refrigerator, maybe hang it on your mirror in your bathroom, put it on your dresser, wherever, fold it in half, put it underneath your pillow maybe.